1 2 3 4. Mặt đăng nhập vào đây bé.
Vâng, chúng ta sẽ còn khoảng 10 phút nữa sẽ bắt đầu chương trình hội thảo ngày hôm nay. Cho phép em được dành vài phút để check đường truyền với quý thầy cô. Các thầy cô có nghe được đầu cầu tiếng em nói và nhìn được hình ảnh của hội thảo không ạ? Nếu các thầy cô nhìn thấy thì có thể đánh vào chat box giúp em. Yes, vâng, cảm ơn các thầy cô ạ. Vâng, cảm ơn các thầy cô. Morning, David. Can we spend some minutes to check your internet? You turn on your camera and yeah, morning.
Hello, good morning.
Yeah, morning, David. All right. Thank you. So, can you hear the sound?
I can hear the sound perfectly. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. I'll see you in next 10 minutes. Okay.
Okay, that sounds great.
So, good morning and warmly welcome our distinguished guests and teachers to our workshop today. Xin được nồng nhiệt chào mừng tất cả quý vị đại biểu, các quý thầy cô đến từ các tỉnh thành trên toàn quốc đã có mặt tham dự hội thảo chuyên đề giảng dạy tiếng Anh dành cho cấp trung học với bộ sách giáo khoa tiếng Anh Global CLIL của Nhà xuất bản Giáo dục Việt Nam. Xin được tự giới thiệu, em là Nguyễn Thị Thanh Xuân, biên tập viên Nhà xuất bản Giáo dục Việt Nam, sẽ là người đồng hành cùng diễn giả và các thầy cô trong hội thảo ngày hôm nay. Chúc các thầy cô có một buổi sáng tràn đầy năng lượng và gặt hái được nhiều thành tựu trong buổi hội thảo với nhiều thông tin hữu ích. Xin được cảm ơn các thầy cô. Buổi hội thảo ngày hôm nay được tổ chức trực tuyến thông qua nền tảng Zoom, đồng thời được livestream trực tiếp trên kênh YouTube và fanpage tiếng Anh Global CLIL. Và trong hội thảo ngày hôm nay, em xin được trân trọng giới thiệu có sự tham gia của các thầy cô là tổng chủ biên, tác giả sách giáo khoa tiếng Anh Global CLIL cùng với đội ngũ báo cáo viên channel. Hội thảo cũng có sự tham gia của đại diện tại Việt Nam của Tập đoàn Xuất bản Giáo dục Pearson, đơn vị đồng hành và hợp tác chặt chẽ với Nhà xuất bản Giáo dục Việt Nam trong việc xuất bản bộ sách tiếng Anh Global CLIL cấp trung học. Và hôm nay xin được trân trọng giới thiệu thầy David Purcell, giảng viên đào tạo của Pearson sẽ là diễn giả của chúng ta trong buổi sáng ngày hôm nay. Và cuối cùng xin đặc biệt trân trọng giới thiệu và cảm ơn sự có mặt của quý thầy cô giáo là cán bộ quản lý, phụ trách chuyên môn và toàn thể các thầy cô, giáo viên tiếng Anh đến từ 63 tỉnh thành trên toàn quốc đã dành thời gian tham dự hội thảo ngày hôm nay. Xin được nhiệt liệt chào mừng các thầy cô. Kính thưa quý thầy cô, với hơn 65 năm xây dựng và phát triển, Nhà xuất bản Giáo dục Việt Nam, đơn vị trực thuộc Bộ Giáo dục và Đào tạo, luôn dành cho quý thầy cô sự trân trọng và cảm ơn chân thành vì đã tin tưởng, lựa chọn và sử dụng sách giáo khoa của Nhà xuất bản Giáo dục Việt Nam, đặc biệt là bộ sách giáo khoa tiếng Anh Global CLIL theo chương trình giáo dục phổ thông 2018. Thực hiện sứ mệnh và nhiệm vụ chính trị của ngành Và đáp lại sự tin yêu đó, Nhà xuất bản Giáo dục Việt Nam luôn nỗ lực cố gắng để có thể hỗ trợ tốt nhất cho các thầy cô thông qua việc biên soạn những bộ sách giáo khoa, sách tham khảo chất lượng cao, cung ứng đến từng địa phương đầy đủ kịp thời với giá thành phù hợp đại trà. Nhà xuất bản cũng liên tục xây dựng và phát triển các công cụ, tài nguyên, hỗ trợ dạy và học đa dạng để giúp các thầy cô trong quá trình giảng dạy. Bên cạnh đó, hàng năm, Nhà xuất bản cũng tổ chức các chuỗi hội nghị, hội thảo chuyên đề với các diễn giả trong nước và nước ngoài nhằm chia sẻ đến các thầy cô những kinh nghiệm, phương pháp giảng dạy hiện đại, cập nhật, có tính ứng dụng cao và áp dụng linh hoạt vào điều kiện thực tế ở địa phương. Và buổi hội thảo ngày hôm nay chính là mở đầu cho chuỗi hội thảo tập huấn sử dụng sách giáo khoa cũng như là tập huấn chuyên đề chuyên sâu mà Nhà xuất bản Giáo dục Việt Nam sẽ đồng hành với quý thầy cô từ bây giờ cho đến hết năm 2023. Xin quý thầy cô hãy dành thời gian để theo dõi tất cả các cái thông tin về hội thảo này trên fanpage và các thông tin từ Nhà xuất bản Giáo dục Việt Nam. Thưa các thầy cô, ngày hôm nay buổi hội thảo của chúng ta sẽ diễn ra cả ngày. Phiên buổi sáng sẽ bắt đầu từ 9 giờ đến 11 giờ với phần trình bày của thầy David Purcell về một xu hướng học tập ngày càng phổ biến trong việc học ngoại ngữ. Đó là phương pháp học tập tích hợp nội dung và ngôn ngữ mà chúng ta hay gọi tắt là CLIL, Content and Language Integrated Learning. Và phiên buổi chiều sẽ diễn ra từ 14 giờ đến 16 giờ sẽ là phần chia sẻ của thầy Đặng Hiệp Giang, chuyên viên vụ giáo dục trung học về phần kiểm tra đánh giá môn tiếng Anh ở bậc trung học theo chương trình giáo dục phổ thông 2018. Cùng với đó là những hướng dẫn soạn kế hoạch bài dạy môn tiếng Anh theo công văn 5512. Và em tin tưởng rằng đây là những nội dung mà các thầy cô rất quan tâm trong quá trình giảng dạy sách giáo khoa mới vừa rồi. Phần trình bày của thầy David sẽ kéo dài trong 90 phút. Sau đó chúng ta sẽ có 30 phút để thảo luận Q&A và thực hiện khảo sát sau giờ tập huấn buổi sáng. Thưa các thầy cô, ban tổ chức sẽ gửi những phần QR code và đường link khảo sát cho các thầy cô vào cuối buổi giờ sáng ngày hôm nay và để các thầy cô có thể nhận những giấy chứng nhận của hội thảo. Em xin phép là phần slide của em nó đang không chạy. Vâng, sau khi các thầy cô tham gia khảo sát vào cuối buổi sáng thì sẽ nhận được giấy chứng nhận tham dự hội thảo. Đồng thời các thầy cô cũng sẽ có cơ hội để được nhận những phần quà hấp dẫn đến từ ban tổ chức. Như trên màn hình các thầy cô có thể thấy là nhà xuất bản sẽ dành 30 phần quà hấp dẫn dành cho các thầy cô gửi phiếu khảo sát về sớm nhất và có chất lượng nội dung tốt nhất. 10 phần quà đầu tiên sẽ là bộ truyện đọc Storyland bổ trợ toàn diện các kỹ năng cho học sinh thông qua các bài đọc có nội dung phong phú hấp dẫn và bộ bài tập phát triển năng lực tiếng Anh 6-7 để củng cố luyện các kiến thức theo chương trình giáo dục phổ thông 2018 và bộ sách giáo khoa GS Global Success. Đối với các thầy cô ở bậc trung học phổ thông là 10 phần quà hấp dẫn với bộ bài tập phát triển năng lực tiếng Anh 10 để củng cố luyện tập kiến thức và nâng cao kỹ năng ngôn ngữ theo chương trình giáo dục phổ thông 2018, bộ cuốn sách tiếng Anh 10 sách giáo viên và đặc biệt là tài khoản ôn luyện tại cổng luyện thi ôn thi Trung học phổ thông quốc gia trên hệ thống học liệu.vn và một infographic tóm tắt kiến thức môn tiếng Anh Trung học phổ thông rất hấp dẫn phải không ạ? Và cuối cùng đây chính là phần đặc biệt, món quà đặc biệt quan trọng nhất, đó chính là 10 khóa học online trong 3 tháng dành là món quà của tập đoàn giáo dục Pearson dành tặng cho các quý thầy cô trung học cơ sở và trung học phổ thông với các nội dung liên quan đến English Language Teacher Development Strategies for ELT Secondary. Và hy vọng 30 thầy cô may mắn sẽ nhận được những phần quà này của ban tổ chức. Các thầy cô hãy nán lại để chúng ta có thể theo dõi được toàn bộ buổi khảo sát buổi tập huấn ngày hôm nay và nhận được ngoài những thông tin hữu ích từ diễn giả thì còn là những phần quà vô cùng hấp dẫn của Nhà xuất bản Giáo dục Việt Nam xin được gửi tặng các thầy cô. Và ngay sau đây thì em xin phép được giới thiệu với các thầy cô nội dung của phiên Session 1 buổi sáng ngày hôm nay. Như các thầy cô đã biết, trong thời gian vừa qua thì chúng em nhận được rất nhiều những ý kiến của các thầy cô hướng dẫn nhiều hơn các cái kỹ thuật triển khai một tiết dạy CLIL sinh động, hấp dẫn, hiệu quả. Và như các thầy cô đã biết, các cái nội dung trong bộ sách giáo khoa tiếng Anh Global Success của cấp 2 và cấp 3 đều có những nội dung này, và các thầy cô rất mong muốn đây là một nội dung mới sẽ được hướng dẫn cụ thể để triển khai bài học một cách hấp dẫn nhất cho học sinh. Và trong buổi sáng ngày hôm nay thì thầy David sẽ chia sẻ với các thầy cô những chiến lược rất thực tiễn để giúp học sinh hiểu và sử dụng tiếng Anh để có thể thảo luận và giải quyết các vấn đề quan trọng của thế giới ngày hôm nay. Các thầy cô sẽ cùng tìm hiểu và khám phá các kỹ thuật dạy tiếng Anh với việc liên hệ các vấn đề thực tiễn vào lớp học ngôn ngữ, thu hút và khuyến khích học sinh tham gia tích cực trong tiết học, từ đó giúp các em đạt kết quả tốt với môn tiếng Anh, đồng thời trang bị cho các em những kiến thức xã hội trong cuộc sống và công việc sau này. Vâng, chắc chắn là một nội dung vô cùng hấp dẫn và rất mong các thầy cô sẽ theo dõi và chúng ta có thể ghi chép được những nội dung hữu ích cho phần của diễn giả buổi sáng ngày hôm nay. And now it's my pleasure to introduce trainer teacher David Purcell from Pearson Education. Please welcome.
Okay, thank you. Shall I start, Ms. Chuan?
Yeah, you can share. I stop my sharing now.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay.
Okay, can you see my screen correctly, Ms. Chuan?
It's okay now, David.
Excellent. Okay. So good morning, everyone. I'm glad to see some people already using the chat box. I hope that you've all had your wonderful Vietnamese coffee. I miss Cafe Phin when I'm away from Vietnam. So I'm actually based in Thailand. This is where I am today. And it's an absolute honor to be here today. So I hope that today there will be some useful tips. I'm sure that I can learn a lot from you as well. So first of all, just to explain what we'll do today, we only have 2 hours. I would like to give you a few minutes break in the middle, just to a toilet break, but let's see how we go. I'll be giving you a short quiz at the beginning, and then a lesson, a CLIL lesson, when you will hopefully learn some new vocabulary, some key principles of CLIL, relating CLIL to teenagers. So why is it so relevant to teenagers in Vietnam today? And then examples from the books of implementing CLIL in the secondary language classroom, and a review. So first of all, I'm sure that Ms. Chuan has mentioned this. Please participate in the activities. I know that there are so many people today, so we will not use breakout rooms or polls, but I will ask you to use the chat box as much as you can. And also, I notice a lot of you are in rooms. Please work together to do the activities, right? It's important that everyone stays muted, simply because if there is one person unmuted, it's very difficult for anyone to hear. If you want to say something, then I'm sure that Ms. Chuan will let me know, and we can maybe say, I hope you've had your Cafe Phin this morning, and I'm going to give you a very quick quiz. All right, so I would like you to look at the questions together and see if you can answer if they are true or false. So if you want, you can write your answers in the chat box, or you can just discuss them. So for example, you could write 1 true or one false like this. Oh, like I'm not, I need to put everyone in the meeting. Yeah, okay. So I've already had one answer. And the answer is wrong. So you have to be careful, be careful. Aha, someone got the correct answer to number one. Okay. When you've done number one, try number two. Okay. A lot of answers to number one. Most of them are wrong. Oh, we have someone who's given. Aha. Don't need to write out the answer, just say whether it's true or false. Otherwise, I think this session will go on all day. Okay, so quite a few people giving good answers here. I will give you another 20 seconds. 20 seconds to put your answers in the chat box or discuss them together. Yeah. Okay. All right. So if you get the correct answers, then I want you to pat each other on the back. All right. You can make each other feel good. Now, the first one was actually false. It's not instructional learning. It's content and language integrated learning. So what we're doing is integrating the language used, the vocabulary used in different subjects into language teaching. So that was the correct answer for that one. False. The next one, the term CLIL actually was invented in Finland by a professor called David Marsh. Right. I think the numbers have gone out of order on my screen. Sorry about that. It means that students are learning an academic subject while also learning a language. Another name for CLIL is content-based instruction. So particularly in American institutions, it is often called content-based instruction, but most of the world nowadays, it is called CLIL, particularly in the context of English language teaching. Teachers do not need specialist training. So, well, training in terms of being aware of CLIL and feeling confident in using it, yes, but you do not need to be an expert in any of the content areas, all right? So hopefully it's something that will be interesting and exciting for you. Now, I hope you're feeling ready for a lesson. Are you ready? I'd like to see some yeses. Okay, 2 people are ready. Yeah, lots of yeses. Excellent. That means you are, yeah, I think Miss Shuren, you've selected these teachers very well. Everyone is very keen, and that's nice to see. So we're going to start off, and this is very typical in a CLIL lesson. We're going to start off with a reading text. You're going to read about someone called David. Now, I'm not going to give any clues as to who this David might be, but he may be in this room. Okay, and you're going to read a text about someone called David and the music in his life. So first of all, I want you to think of some things you would like to know. All right, so can you write some questions in the chat box? What would you like to know about this person called David? All right, so we want to know, it's about David and music. What would you like to know? Yeah, that's a good question. What type of music does David like? Does David like pop music? Any other questions you might want to put? Does David teach at any schools? What type? Yeah. What type of books does he read? Well, it's about music, isn't it? So not about food. We know it's David and music. All right. So we might want to know what type of music he likes. Does he like pop music? Does he play guitar? Does he play? Let's see. Does he write music? That's a good question. Does he play the flute? What type of song? Yeah, so remember, does he like Vietnamese folk music? Yeah, so good questions, but we're focusing the students on the topic area. Okay, so I've already told the students the topic area is going to be music. Okay, so we've got some good, yeah, does he always listen to it? All right. Yeah, what type of music instruments does he play? Good. So you're good students. We've got lots of questions. We will write them on the blackboard. So now, are you ready to read the text? See if your questions are answered. Are you ready? Yeah, okay, I'm getting some yeses. So we will move on to the text. I'm going to give you around 1 minute to read the text. So please try to read the text for the information. And then after we finish, you will not see the text, and I want you to discuss what you learned. Okay? All right, so first of all, let's have a look at the text. Okay, you don't need the textbook, don't worry. Okay, so just read and try to remember the important information. Okay, I've given you 1 minute. I'm going to give you another 20 seconds because I'm feeling generous this morning. Ten seconds. 3 seconds. Okay, so now I want you to tell me, what did you learn about David? What did you learn from the text? So you can tell So don't just write jazz. So say what you learn. So not just the words. All right. Okay. All right. But what exactly did you learn? What are my hobbies? So please be specific. All right, so you learned that I have 3 children. Good. All right, you learned. Right. Okay, so someone's given a good answer there. Like singing, but not good voice. Good. Right. Okay, keep going, keep going. Let's see if maybe you need to discuss together. This is part of the lesson. We want the students to share what they learned from the text. So if I'm using the book here, I would ask my students to close the book and share what they learned. All right, so some of you have got more information than others. Yeah, he loves jazz. He can play the piano. This is true. Okay, so it's quite important in a CLIL lesson to focus on the specifics. That's how your students are going to expand their vocabulary. Okay. Right. Okay, I'm getting some more details here. He's really younger. No, he's old. I'm very old. And I'm a teacher trainer. Very good. All right. Okay. So now let's check the answers. So we open the book again. And we will check our answers by reading. So I will say to my students, well, let's see did you get them right? Did you get everything that is in the text? So for example, some people said that I am old. Some people said I have 3 children. This is true. Some people, so if I just use the okay, I should be sorry about that. Okay. All right. So hopefully you can see some things that you got. Now, the next part, all right, the next part is very important. Remember, our focus is vocabulary, all right? And it is specific to a subject area, in this case, music. So now I will ask the students to underline the vocabulary related to music, all right? And I will ask them to highlight any words that are new and write them in their vocabulary notebooks, okay? So at this point, if you can look at the text again, see what words you see that are related to music. So which words are about music? All right. Now, some people are saying very nice things about me, but they're not answering the question. So, okay, classical, very good. Yeah, classical music. remember that this is actually a collocation, right? Classical means something, but classical music is quite specific. Yeah, concerts. Yeah, okay. What else do we see? Right, salsa, merengue. What else do you see? Yes, some people have noticed the musical instruments, the key of G, jazz, rhythm, upbeat. Okay, so I'm going to show you the words that I would want the students to underline. Okay, so maybe the teacher didn't find everything, and also maybe students will they will highlight different words, because for some of them, some words will be new and some words will not. Okay, but these are all the words that I have underlined, all the words related to music. So as you can see, there's quite a lot of specific vocabulary, right? And some of it the teachers will be able, the students will be able to work out from the context, all right? But other words maybe will be completely new to them. Now, it's important that if we want our students to learn and be able to use the new vocabulary, that we give them the chance to process this. And I heard Ms. Chuan talking about infographics before. So I'm a big believer in using graphic organizers. So it may be using a tree diagram or a mind map or a flow diagram or a Venn diagram. And these will help students to process the vocabulary. So in this case, if you look at the screen, you can see that I have made a mind map for music, and so I've included most of the new vocabulary. So you can see keys, right? Keys of music can be A, B, C, do, re, mi, low keys, high keys, right? Stringed instruments, you've got a I can't pronounce it, dentran, guitar, violin. Okay, so what I'd like you to do, just to show me, let's imagine we are in the group for stringed instruments, right? So can you add some more stringed instruments? Right? Can you write some more stringed instruments into the chat box? So you already have the dentran, the guitar, the violin. What other instruments are there? Okay, so maybe that's a cello, very good. Harp, and maybe a viola, very good. And also there was a Vietnamese instrument. Piano is also a stringed instrument, very good. Double bass. Right. Okay, so there's a real opportunity for students to learn more, but also you may well find that some students in a class like this are musical, and suddenly the class is exciting for them, because although it's in English, they are able to use, they are actually in a position where they know more than some of the other students. Okay, so as the teacher, I will correct you. Yeah, so so for example, the flute is not a stringed instrument. The trumpet is not a stringed instrument, but the double bass is. Yeah. So so I will go around helping the students, okay? All right, so each group will focus on a particular part of the mind map, okay? So then I would say the students can add drawings and illustrations. Why is this a good idea? Can anyone tell me in the chat box, why is it a good idea to add drawings and illustrations to the mind map? It improves their memory. Whole brain studying, very good. Right, good for visual learners, very good. Helps to remember the words in topics, yes. Yes, so the fact that we're using a visual representation is very helpful for visual learners, and most of us also it means that the students do not need to use Vietnamese. They do not need to use their home language. All right, so particularly if you put this on display, which is ideal, you make displays in the classroom. But if you don't make displays, then at least in their notebooks, they can see and visualize the instruments without having to translate. All right, and that makes it easier to actually speak as well. So the next stage, I will move on to a more creative stage. So I will then say, well, I would like you to make some notes about you and music. So you read about this person called David, and now we have expanded our vocabulary, our music vocabulary. And now I would like you to think about your personal situation by focusing on these prompts. So for example, genres of music that you like. Okay, so the genres of music, you might say, I like hip hop, or I like jazz, yeah? And my musical influences. So your musical influences, that could be interesting. That might be your parents. It might be your local city, right? Or your local part of Vietnam, because I know there's a lot of different music from different parts of Vietnam. It might be a teacher. It might be music that you heard at home, and then musical instruments you play, maybe some musical instruments you would like to learn, so that we include everyone, because not everyone has the opportunity to learn, but maybe they would like to learn, and also their musical experiences. So some of your students, they may come from very difficult backgrounds, but they may have music in their lives. All right, so it's a good leveler. It's a way of including everyone. And from this, hopefully, we can begin to start writing. Now, the important thing here is that this has occurred after the other stages. Okay, so if we look at the different stages of the class, they have gone through a reading, they've discussed the reading, they have highlighted vocabulary that is specific to music, then they have processed that vocabulary and organized it in a way that will make it easy to remember. They have brainstormed new words. Maybe you have allowed them to use the internet as well to help them. Okay. They have added some drawings and illustrations to make a visual display. Okay. And then you are moving here towards a creative writing lesson. Okay, so a lot of people in the chat box answering the questions. That's great. That shows that you're engaged with the lesson. So, okay, so what did we do in this CLIL lesson? What did you enjoy about it? I hope you enjoyed something. I know it's difficult when we're online. It's not the same as being face-to-face. Do you think it helped you to learn effectively? I'll just give you a minute or two to think about those questions, first of all. And then I will give you my ideas. So I hope there's some discussion going on in the rooms here. Okay. So what did we do? Let's just go through what we actually did. We asked some pre-reading questions. That's very important. And this can be done with the book closed. In fact, it is much better to do it with the book closed. So sometimes teachers feel nervous, particularly with very large classes. And it is a shame because if we close the book at the beginning of the class and we ask some questions, the students can actually get quite excited about opening it, right? So we would say, we're going to read about someone called David. We're going to read about his relationship with music. What questions do you have? All right. And this part of the lesson, this could take 10 minutes. Yeah. Okay. Then we read a text. In this case, the text was about me, but the text could be a text in the book. As we'll see later, there are a lot of different topic areas, subject areas in the book. We underlined vocabulary relating to music. We organized this vocabulary using a graphic organizer. In this case, it was a mind map. And then we used the text as a model for a creative writing task. Now, the next question, what did you enjoy, is a difficult question because in a good CLIL lesson, different students will enjoy different things. It should appeal to learners who are good at learning vocabulary. In this case, it may appeal to students who know something about music, all right? So it might appeal to musical students who are not very good at English. And a science CLIL lesson would appeal to science students who are good at science, maybe not so good at English, but it helps them to become interested in the language. And the different parts of the lesson, we are doing different things, appealing to different types of learners. So let's see if you can fill in the gaps here. So if we're using this CLIL lesson as an example, what are the benefits of using CLIL in the English language classroom? See if you can write the missing words in the chat box. Okay, Very good. So we got one correct answer already. Keep going. Oh, we're on fire today. Lots of good answers. Yeah. Excellent. So I think we're only looking for one more answer. Okay, I'm going to go through the answers now. So if you got them right, pat yourself on the back or pat your partner on the back. So the benefits, first of all, as we've seen, it can be very motivating for students because in this case, for example, we're looking at a subject area, in this case, music. This can be a lot more interesting for students than reading about something that is not real. It also is something that maybe students have a particular interest in. So they're actually learning about something that will be useful for their lives. It's also interesting for teachers because we can learn new things in a class. Now, you've probably taught a lot of CLIL classes without even being aware of them because modern textbooks often include some CLIL elements, and they're moving more and more towards this. It is authentic by definition, right? So for example, in this case, we're learning about music. Music is real. It is authentic. It's not something that is made up. Everything that we read about was real and relevant. It gives us greater possibilities for learning by doing. We're learning a wider range of vocabulary. Because we're learning a wider range of vocabulary, we're building fluency. Some people said confidence. I think that's fair as well. And we're building world knowledge and cultural awareness. So there's a strong focus in the books that you're using and will be using. There's a strong focus on Vietnamese traditions and cultural awareness. So we're learning about the world and also comparing it and contrasting it to Vietnam. By increasing our range of vocabulary, we are also increasing students' ability to read more. And the more they read, the more their vocabulary expands. The more the vocabulary expands, the more they understand, the more they can read. And obviously, this will have positive effects in terms of passing exams and future academic success, not only in English, but in other subjects where English vocabulary is used. Okay, so let's have a look at an example from one of the books. Okay, so in this class, the students are learning about science. So have a look at the text and see if you can identify what scientific words can you identify from the text. So see if you can write the words you see in the chat box. Yeah, very good. Okay, so a lot of people have got the first one. See if you can find the second one as well. Very good, excellent. And one more. Okay. Yes, we're getting towards the third one. Well done, everyone who got those. So the correct answers were carbon footprint, atmosphere, and temperature. So the students are learning about how to reduce their carbon footprint. At the same time, they are learning other words. You could also identify some, depending on your class, they might find other words they're not familiar with. Maybe they don't know the word tons as a measurement, for example, or air pollution, but it's likely that they know most of the words, so we can identify some new words here that would be useful in other areas. Okay, so what we're going to do now is I'm going to show you some different examples from different levels of the book. And I'd like you to tell me in the chat box which subject the students are learning about. Okay, so in this case, are they learning about history, Vietnamese culture, popular culture, sports, music, science, or geography? Right? You can choose more than one. So have a look. What are we learning about in this CLIL lesson? Okay, so a few people have put sports. Anything else? Yeah, I agree with the last one there. That's great. So we're learning about both popular culture and sports. Some people might even say history because Pele was a famous name in the past, but I think it's mainly popular culture. So even students who are not interested in football or don't know anything about football, probably it's useful to know the name Pele as a great example of a great footballer that is known worldwide. Okay, and you'll learn a few other useful words related to football here. Okay, what about this lesson? What are we learning about here? Very good. We're learning about, very good. A lot of correct answers here. We're learning about geography. Excellent. Excellent. Okay. How about this lesson? Very good. Very good. So this is an example where we're learning not only about a different subject area, in this case, geography, we're also learning about Vietnamese culture and relating and comparing. So, for example, the students are learning about which cities are closer to Hanoi. All right, and so it's very. I really like the way the book does this. So they're learning about world geography at the same time. It's directly compared to Vietnam, so it's related in a useful way. Okay, what about this one? Very good. Very good. Lots of good answers. We're learning about both music and also Vietnamese culture. Okay. Great. So now I'm going to give you a task to do. All right. So you might want to write this down. If you're in a big room with a lot of teachers, perhaps you could use you could share a whiteboard or share some paper. And what I'd like you to do is to put the descriptors into the two boxes. All right. So we have two boxes here, or baskets, one for English language teaching on the left and the other for CLIL on the right. Okay. So what I'd like you to do is look at the descriptors. Which descriptors go into the ELT basket? Which ones go in the CLIL basket? Okay, so if you want, you can type in the chat box, but you can also maybe, it would be useful if you have a whiteboard to write them up on the whiteboard, all right, just so that everyone can see visually. Okay, so I'll give you a minute or two to do this. I think it will probably need 2 minutes or maybe a bit more. So I'll give you had 1 minute. I'll give you another 1 to 2 minutes to do this. This is very useful, I think, for understanding the differences between traditional language teaching and using CLIL. Okay, and 1 more minute. Okay, so a lot of good answers in the chat box. Okay, so let's go through them together now. you may or may not agree with all of this, but traditionally, texts that are used in ELT are not always authentic. Okay, so it depends how we define authentic, of course, but sometimes the texts are written specially just to teach particular items of grammar, for example. Whereas in CLIL, the focus is on something real. All right. So in the case of the music text we looked at before, or the examples where we saw examples of Vietnamese culture, geography, all of this is real, useful information. So in ELT, the focus of the texts are chosen really to learn language, whereas in CLIL, they are used to expand knowledge of the world. And often, not always, but often in traditional English language teaching, the focus is on grammar rather than vocabulary. So in a CLIL lesson, there is a much stronger focus on vocabulary, as we saw in the example lesson that we did before. We could say that for English language teaching, traditional English language teaching, lessons are language driven rather than driven by content. Okay, so in CLIL, our content in the lesson that we looked at was music, and there were huge possibilities really for that mind map, for expanding the range of vocabulary and the content. Vocabulary in traditional ELT is often not recycled unless the teacher makes an effort to give a vocabulary quiz or to go back to the vocabulary. Whereas in CLIL, because the vocabulary is taken from real world, from other subject areas, it is inevitably recycled, not always in our classrooms, but quite possibly in other classrooms like music, science, geography, history. The students start to make these connections. Okay, so CLIL in 1999 identified these 4 areas, if you like, the 4 C's of CLIL. So sorry about that, I disappeared for a moment. Okay, you'll be familiar with the 4 C's of 21st century learning. So we talk about communication, collaboration, critical thinking, and creativity. These are the 4 C's of CLIL. So content means that we're progressing in knowledge, skills, and understanding, all right, of different elements of a curriculum. Communication, using the language to learn whilst learning to use language. So the 2 things together. Cognition, it means developing thinking skills that link concept formation, understanding, and language. So in our CLIL lesson earlier, we were really using the analysis of the text, and then the mind maps, and then relating to our own lives. These are all cognition. And culture. So the books that you're using are very strong on relating everything from from the world also to an understanding of Vietnamese culture and how that relates to this. Okay, so a typical CLIL lesson's not the only way. You will have some introduction of the topic. You'll be checking existing knowledge, identifying vocabulary. You'll be organizing the knowledge. So in our case, we were using a mind map, but we could be doing this in a different way. We could be completing a table. We could be writing a summary. My advice to you as teachers is try new things. Right? I find that very few teachers try different types of infographic, right? It's incredibly useful, not only for thinking skills, but also for preparation for academic exams like IELTS. If students are comfortable using different ways of organizing knowledge. So CLIL lessons are fantastic for this because we are learning large amounts of vocabulary from a specific area. So for example, it might be science, it might be geography, it might be music, it might be art or sports. It gives us a chance to organize this knowledge using graphic organizers or infographics. Okay. Language work, we're using the new vocabulary in a language task and collaboratively. So the writing can also be collaborative. Creating a poster could be collaborative, or a presentation could be a collaborative task. There are many possibilities here. Okay. Would Miss Shuan, should we take a short break or should we continue?
I think, what about you? We would go, we continue and then finish at 10:30. Is okay for you?
Okay, we can try to finish at 10:30. Okay, yeah. That's fine. Okay, so let's move on then, and we'll look at CLIL and teenagers. All right, so I think if you ask teenagers what they really enjoy doing, which lessons they most enjoy, you will find that they relate often to these different elements of teaching. So I'd like you maybe try to think back to your favorite teacher at school, right? Right, why did you like this teacher when you were a teenager? All right, and it might be for any of these reasons: active and helpful, trendy, funny, sense of humor. Considerate. Okay, so I have a question for you. Did this teacher give you confidence They give you confidence to express your own opinions. Were they interested in your life? Did they give you choices in the class? Some because of their beauty. Yes, life skills. Did you learn some useful life skills in their classes?
Just a moment, David.
Yes.
I'll just send you a link on YouTube that our workshop is live stream on YouTube, and with about more than 4,000 teachers are watching and very interactive. And you can see their comments. Yeah.
Oh, okay, but I can't see.
Right.
I can't look at YouTube while I'm doing this. It would just be impossible.
Yeah, thanks.
Okay, I can look later. So I can see the comments in the chat box. Okay, so what I think you can see here is that a lot of your answers to my questions relate to these points. So you've mentioned life skills, authenticity, that the teachers that you loved as teenagers gave you the confidence to express opinions. They gave you some choices. They allowed you to ask questions, and they took an interest in your lives. So how does this relate to teaching teenagers? Well, let's have a look at another couple of examples of CLIL from the books. Okay, so here, for example, we have an example of building cultural awareness through comparing the cultural aspects of two cities. Okay, so if you look here, you'll see Bangkok, which is where I am speaking to you from. So key features of the lesson: we're developing cross-cultural awareness. In the first part of the lesson, actually, they are comparing Stockholm here with their own city. So the second example, they are comparing another city in another way. It is communicative, and they share their ideas working collaboratively. They then have a choice. So this is something you'll notice a lot in the book here. So if you look at the writing section, it says choose a city. What city is it? Right? Every lesson there is an element of choice for the students, and this appeals to teenage learners particularly. Right? The writing, a postcard is a creative activity. Of course, we don't often write postcards nowadays, but this can be adapted. So it can be adapted into an electronic greeting card. It could be made into a poster. And the students can also collaborate online if you are comfortable with that. I think increasingly teachers use, for example, Google Documents or Google presentations, and other. There are also other possibilities with Microsoft and other companies. Okay, let's have a look at another lesson. So this one is taken from the Level 6 workbook. You'll see here that there's a lot of information about television. All right. It is an example of CLIL. They're learning about the history of television, some of the scientific facts relating to television, and also to an extent popular culture. Okay, so I'm going to give you an example of what I would do here to build a creative CLIL lesson. Okay, so first of all, I would divide the students into two groups, all right? And group A will consider 3 advantages of television. Group B will consider 3 disadvantages of television. If you have a very large class, we can simply divide the class into 2 sections, or we can have A, B, but it's important to encourage collaboration here so that the students can share the vocabulary that they know. So you would want to have 3 or 4 in each group as a minimum. And then you will mix the groups, all right, and have a student from each group writing an advantage and a disadvantage on the board, and different students completing the list. And I would do all of this, as I mentioned before. It's a very useful strategy to keep the books closed. Right now, the students have an incentive to open the book. And what might have been a less interesting, less authentic activity becomes more interesting. Okay, I would ask the students then to complete the activities in the book. So, for example, here, if they complete activity D, they will get some ideas to compare. So in A, it says keep children from taking part in outdoor activities. That would be a disadvantage. It's educational. That would be an advantage. They can compare with each other. We could then divide into groups for a debate. And then we could ask them to complete the second exercise, which is quite interesting. It gives us some interesting facts about television. So we learn that the inventor of television did not allow his children to watch TV. We learn that someone managed to watch TV continuously for 69 hours. Okay, so then I would ask the students, which facts do you find interesting? Which do you find surprising? And then I would allow my students to go online to find some interesting facts about television, all right, for a true and false quiz. So true and false quizzes are very simple. We don't need too much information. It's a lot easier to make a true and false quiz than a multiple choice quiz or any other type of quiz for that matter. But it's very, very useful in terms of it allows the students to be a little creative. So I'm going to give you a true and false quiz that I made. So I went online. It took me about 5 minutes to make this quiz. It would probably take your students maybe 20 minutes to come up with a simple true and false quiz if they are at this level. So I'm going to ask you now, I want you to try the quiz. Do you think these are true or false? Write your answers in the chat box. Okay, someone was very quick. All right, let's check. So the great thing about this type of activity, you can have different groups coming up with different questions, and it would encourage the use of all of the television related vocabulary that they have learned in the class. So let's have a look. See, if you got these correct, then give yourself a pat on the back. So the first TV broadcast was indeed made in England in 1926, although it was made by a Scottish person, John Logie Baird. The first first American TV station started 2 years after that. TV was very late in Vietnam. I'm not sure why. It was actually 40 years later. I think that actually depends if you're talking about which part of Vietnam you're talking about as well. The 10 most watched TV shows of all time in both Germany and Mexico, and quite a lot of other countries as well, are all football matches. On the other hand, in the United States, the most watched TV program in history is from more than 50 years ago. It was the moon landings in 1969. In the UK, the most watched event on UK television ever was also more than 50 years ago. It was when we won the World Cup in 1966. And according to my research, 80% of Vietnamese adults watch TV for at least a short time every day. So this may be something that is changing. I think this is probably from 5 years ago. Nowadays, people watch a lot of TV online, but they're still watching. TV. Okay. Here we have some more examples from the book. We are looking here at different features of Vietnamese villages, features of houses and how they're built in this unit. And the what I like about this is also the element of choice. Okay, so the students are asked to make notes about a village or a town. In this case, it's leading up to a project, and you'll see a lot of this in the book. A lot of projects where students are looking at their favorite village or their favorite TV program or their favorite their favorite historical character. It can be many different things. What are the benefits of this type of activity? Let's have a look at it first of all. You can see that the students are working in groups. They're searching for a village in Vietnam or a foreign country that they would like to visit. They're designing a poster about that village, and they are presenting the poster to the class. All right, so what are the benefits of this type of activity? If anyone would like to type some ideas, and then I will tell you my views. Developing creative students, improving speaking, absolutely, yes. Any other ideas? Getting more information about culture and custom. Yes, definitely. Developing imagination. Good. The one very important point, which is true when we go back to the lesson that we did at the beginning on music, this type of activity is inclusive. It appeals to different types of learners. So we are, just as in the example at the beginning, students who are musical are being included, right? Students who are good with vocabulary. In this case, we are appealing to students who may be good at layout, at designing, at drawing, yeah. Students who have a good knowledge of geography. So we're appealing to different types of learners, right? Not only the students who are good with grammar or vocabulary. We're also giving an element of choice. We're allowing students to choose the village. They could research a village. They could choose a village that they know. So in this case, if you are teaching in a village, I would suggest that you ask students, some of them they can present on that particular village, but also to look at other places that they have visited or would like to visit. It allows for creativity. And another thing I like about creating a poster is that it's something that is permanent. It's not something that is going to be put in the book and forgotten about. This can go on the wall so that students can see it every day when they come into the class. And this helps in terms of learning. So often we forget, I think, with teenage students, how useful it is to create posters. I have done this recently with my classes. We've created posters on the themes of economics, in fact, and we put them on the walls, and it's really helpful in terms of reinforcing learning. Okay, Here we have some other examples of projects from the book. Okay, so in this case, the students are thinking of a club that they would like to have. All right, so this could actually be used beyond the lesson. If they've created a poster, presented it. You might also want to use technology. Sometimes students use technology very well to make posters and presentations. This could even lead to students actually starting clubs at their schools. All right. This is from a unit on ethnic groups of Vietnam. So one of the features you'll find in the book is that there are these games where students have, which are really testing knowledge, but in a fun way. All right. So let's see how much you know. All right, see if you can write where the different ethnic groups come from on the map. All right, so for example, the Khmer come from area 1. All right, what about areas 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6? Let's see how much you know. Type in the chat box if you know the answers. Actually, number 1 is not Khmer. I just gave an example. That's not the correct answer. Okay. So as you can imagine, I am not an expert on Vietnamese ethnic groups, but the great thing is the teacher's book has all the answers, right? And as someone who has worked for many years in publishing, I know that unfortunately teachers' books are often not used as much as they could be. There is a lot of work that goes into the teachers' books. So let's see if you were right. The correct answers are on the screen now. If you were right, pat yourself on the back and say, well done. Maybe you can give yourselves a prize of an extra cup of coffee when we have our break. And I have a bonus question for you. Which are the 2 largest ethnic groups in Vietnam? And this is something that the students learn. Oh, you're very knowledgeable. Yeah, the students actually learn this in the course of a listening text. All right, so I think some of you, the largest ethnic groups. I think by ethnic groups we mean minority groups here. So if we then look at the audio, so this is track 20 of the audio, and we find that the kin, Miss Shuan, please correct my pronunciation. So the kin and the te would be the correct answers.
Pretty
Am I right?
good. Yeah, it's pretty good.
Pretty
King
good.
and Tay, yeah.
I need you to invite me back to Vietnam so I can perfect my Vietnamese pronunciation. Okay.
Thank you.
And have some more pho and beautiful Vietnamese food and coffee. Okay, so so the students learn useful cultural information everywhere in the games, in the texts, also in the listening texts. So this is a very good example of CLIL here. All right. And awareness. So there's a very strong focus on awareness of cultural differences. So if we look at the text here, which cultural differences is this text focusing on? You might have to look quite closely at the screen to answer this question. What are we focusing on here? Is it A, food, B, greetings, or, oh, sorry, I made a mistake. There's only food or greetings. All right, so a lot of people are looking at the photos, but not actually at the text. But there is a little bit on food. It's mostly focusing here on greetings. So which other cultural aspects could we compare? Right. So so for example, we might focus on eating times. Yeah. What other areas could we what other aspects of culture do you think we could focus on? So we've looked at greetings, we can look at eating times, yeah, table manners, very good, clothes, very good. Costumes, traditional costumes particularly. So what aspects of Vietnamese culture do you think might be different if you were to compare them to Japan or to the UK or to France or to Australia, for example? So eating times might be one. Dishes, yeah, cuisine, definitely. Eating places, which is different from actually talking about food. Yeah, where do people eat? Relationships between generations, very, very good. Yeah, how do we eat? Yeah, so for example, do we eat with chopsticks? Do we eat with a spoon? Do we eat with a knife and a fork? Do we keep vegetables and meat and fish separate? In France, they have a separate course for each type of food. Yeah. So here are some examples that you will see in the book. Inviting people to your home. So this is something that is quite different in different cultures. So, for example, in the UK, it's very where I come from, it's very common to invite people to your home. Whereas in Thailand, where I'm living now, it's not so common. It's more common to invite people to meet, to eat outside, for example. Giving gifts, right? So in the UK, if you go to someone's house for dinner, you would probably take a bottle of wine or something like that. In Vietnam, it's different. In Thailand, it's definitely different. People would not take a bottle of wine. They might take some fruit. Yeah. Celebrating New Year is very different. Yeah. So you have the Tet celebrations in Vietnam. In Thailand, they have Thai New Year. In the UK, the New Year celebration is quite a big thing. Yeah. So again, there are quizzes and games to engage the students in the book, to get them interested in the topic. So let's try this one. Do you know the answers? If you do, type them in the chat box. Giving lucky money on that, I will have to go make sure I go to Vietnam during the Tech Festival, and maybe I can get some lucky money. Okay, see quickly if you can answer questions 1 to 5. What do you know? This one's quite an easy one. Although not everyone, I should think, not everyone will know the answer to number 4. Okay. Okay, so everyone is still very much awake. So here are the answers. A, B, 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 A. So I might move on from this, saying, what else do you know about these people? What else do you know about the Thais, the Maoris, the Japanese? And then we could move on and make a poster on customs in one of these countries, and relating everything to Vietnam, which is something that the book does extremely well. It's a big focus. Let's have a look at this project here. Which aspect of this project work do you think is the most important in terms of teaching and for your students? So is it A, that the students can do their own research? B, that they work in groups? C, that they have a choice of topic? Or D, that it gives a chance for all of the students to shine, even those who are not good at speaking English? What do you think is most important? A lot of people are saying D. And I would agree with you that maybe this is the most important, but I think we can say that they are all important in the context of teaching teenagers. Right? It's really good that they can do their own research. It's good that they can work in groups. It's good that they can make a choice in terms of the topic. And it gives a chance for all students to shine, right? It's not necessarily just those who are good at English. And you'll notice here, we've really come back to what we were looking at earlier, the advantages of CLIL. So I'm going to round off this workshop. I hope it's been useful, with a few questions just to see how much you remember. I'd like you to, you can either discuss these in groups, or you can write your answers in the chat box. I will give you around 3 minutes to do that, and then I will review the questions with you.
Thưa các thầy cô, thầy David đang đi những phần nội dung cuối cùng của phần trình bày của thầy ngày hôm nay, và trên màn hình các thầy cô có thể thấy là những cái phần nội dung tóm tắt review của thầy. Xin mời các thầy cô chúng ta hãy cùng nhớ lại những gì chúng ta đã được tiếp thu trong buổi sáng ngày hôm nay và đánh vào chat box để giúp thầy có thể là check được cái comprehension của chúng ta ngày hôm nay ạ. Vâng, xin mời các thầy cô ạ.
Okay, I didn't understand that, but I'm sure.
I have just asked our teachers to review and type in the chat box what they have learned in this morning.
That's great. Thank you very much for that. So maybe give another 2 or 3 minutes for this. So try to move on to questions 2, 3, 4, and 5 now. Good. Good. We're getting some good answers here. Okay, that's great. Let's see a few more answers for number 3, 4, and 5. Okay. Right, I can now see myself on YouTube.
Secret.
Yes, I had to open it on the phone. Okay, so let's go through these now. Oh. I need to find a way to, to mute it. Okay, so as most people correctly remembered, CLIL stands for Content and Language Integrated Learning. Two differences, for example, a CLIL lesson uses authentic material, it's content driven, it focuses on building vocabulary. It's particularly suitable for teenagers because a CLIL lesson, and we saw a lot of examples from the book, it involves choice, it involves collaboration and creative tasks. Two examples of subject areas that, well, there are a lot of examples in this series of books: culture, geography, music, and science. And then the 4 C's of CLIL that CLIL proposed in 1999 were content, communication, cognition, and culture. So I hope today's session has been interesting and useful. What you might want to do is just write down one thing that you learned, one thing that you would like to try. It's always a good idea as teachers if we commit to trying something new. So I would ask you to think about that now. Just spend a minute to do that.
All right. So thank you for your very informative and useful presentation this morning, David. And
thank you very much.
Yeah, I'm sure that my teachers have learned a lot from your ideas and your opinions and all the information that you have shared this morning. So before going to the Q&A sessions, we have about 20 minutes more. I would like to have some minutes to review with our teachers for the content this morning. Is it okay, David?
Absolutely, yeah.
Vâng, thưa các thầy cô, trước khi chúng ta đến với phần Q&A thảo luận, em xin phép được review lại những nội dung mà thầy David đã cùng chia sẻ với chúng ta trong sáng nay. Thưa các thầy cô, trong vòng 1 tiếng 40 phút, thầy đã chia sẻ với chúng ta về các cái kỹ thuật, các bước triển khai của một tiết học có tích hợp nội dung. Thầy cũng đưa ra một số ví dụ về các nội dung CLIL trong bộ sách tiếng Anh Global Success. Thầy cũng có sự phân biệt, sự khác nhau giữa một tiết học ENT và một tiết CLIL mà các thầy cô cũng vừa review cùng với thầy David. Thầy cũng đưa ra những lợi ích của một việc trong việc triển khai những tiết học CLIL này đối với học sinh, đặc biệt là học sinh phổ thông, là lứa tuổi mà các con đang có những yêu cầu và nhu cầu được khám phá thế giới, được nhu cầu được học hỏi cũng như là mong muốn được tăng cường những kỹ năng hợp tác trong quá trình học tập. Và thầy đã đưa ra tất cả những cái kỹ năng cũng như là phần chia sẻ để giúp cho các thầy cô có thể triển khai một bài học CLIL trong sách giáo khoa tiếng Anh Global Success và giúp cho học sinh có thêm được những kỹ năng làm việc nhóm, làm việc hợp tác và kích thích sự sáng tạo. Các thầy cô có thể thấy là một bài học, các series, các unit, đơn vị bài học triển khai trong series Global Success đã được tác giả thiết kế một cách rất là khoa học, logic, với mỗi một đơn vị bài học là một chủ đề, chủ điểm rất cụ thể, và học sinh sẽ được bồi đắp những kiến thức input language để sau đó các con thu thập được những thông tin và bồi dưỡng được, nâng cao được kỹ năng ngôn ngữ của mình bằng việc triển khai các cái tiết học dự án cuối cùng. Và các thầy cô có thể thấy rằng nội dung tích hợp nội dung là một trong những xu hướng học tập của chương trình giáo dục phổ thông 2018, đó là việc học tập liên môn. Và tiếng Anh của chúng ta có một lợi thế rằng đã sử dụng ngôn ngữ, học sinh có thể sử dụng ngôn ngữ của mình để được tìm hiểu, khám phá các môn học các môn học khác thông qua việc các cái kênh thông tin để tìm hiểu thông tin và mở rộng cho các con những cái kiến thức nền tảng mà chúng ta hay gọi là background knowledge. Và các thầy cô có thể thấy rằng tất cả các cái nội dung, các cái hoạt động ngôn ngữ được thiết kế trong series Global Success đều tạo điều kiện và trao cho các con, cho học sinh có những cơ hội để tìm hiểu, khám phá về thế giới, và đặc biệt là các con có được những sự tự tôn về dân tộc, tình yêu quê hương đất nước và sử dụng ngôn ngữ tiếng Anh của mình để giới thiệu các nét văn hóa con người của đất nước mình đối với thế giới. Và em hy vọng rằng bài trình bày của thầy David đã giúp đỡ cho các thầy cô rất nhiều để thấy rằng việc triển khai một tiết học CLIL trong Global Success vô cùng dễ dàng và rất là hấp dẫn và thú vị. Vâng, xin cảm ơn các thầy cô. Và sau đây chúng ta sẽ có khoảng 10 phút. Nếu như các thầy cô có câu hỏi gì thêm đối với thầy David thì vui lòng đánh vào chat box. Và sau đó chúng ta sẽ đến phần khảo sát và kết thúc buổi workshop sáng ngày hôm nay. Các thầy cô có câu hỏi gì thì chúng ta có thể type vào chat box để hỏi thêm với thầy David. Vâng. Yeah, so teachers, have you got any questions for our presenter today? Please type in the chat box or comment on YouTube or fan page. Yeah, could I have your email? Yeah, a question from Bình Thuận. Okay,
I will share.
Thưa các thầy cô, tất cả phần nội dung mà thầy David trình bày ngày hôm nay cũng sẽ được Nhà xuất bản Giáo dục Việt Nam gửi lại cho các thầy cô trong các nhóm giáo viên, cũng như đăng tải trên phần kho, phần bổ trợ mà chúng em đã có gửi cho các thầy cô trong kho nội dung tập huấn. Các thầy cô có thể xem lại và sử dụng nội dung này, cũng như xem lại phần buổi hội thảo ngày hôm nay trên kênh YouTube và fanpage tiếng Anh Global Success. Vâng. Nếu như các thầy cô không có câu hỏi gì thêm với diễn giả, một lần nữa thì em xin phép là chúng ta hãy bày tỏ sự cảm ơn và thầy cô hãy thả những cái icon thật là yêu thích đối với phần trình bày của thầy ngày hôm nay được không ạ? Yeah. Vâng, cảm ơn các thầy cô rất là nhiều. Nếu chúng ta cảm thấy rằng phần trình bày của thầy David hôm nay hữu ích và mình có thể áp dụng được trong lớp học của mình, vâng, xin mời hãy bày tỏ tình cảm của mình và sự cảm ơn với thầy David from Pearson. Yeah, our teachers have shared their feeling, yeah.
What lovely emoticons.
Yeah, presentation today. Lovely emotion, yeah. Thank you very much.
Very, very kind of you. I hope hope to be able to come back to Vietnam sometime.
Yeah, hope one day you go, and then we have a direct or very useful teaching session with our teachers face to face.
That would be great, wouldn't it?
Yeah. So thank you again, Teacher Persis, for your presentation this morning, and I hope that we can see you again one day in our coming sessions of VEPH and Pearson next school year. Once again, thank you very much. Thank you very much again.
Okay, so shall I say goodbye now?
Yeah.
Okay, so thank you everyone, and I hope to see you all again, and I hope it was useful. Thank you for your very kind words. Okay, and thank you, Miss Chuan.
Thank you, David.
Everyone there.
And have a nice time. Vâng, thưa các thầy cô, và bây giờ là phần chúng ta đến với phần khảo sát của buổi sáng ngày hôm nay. Ban tổ chức sẽ gửi và đường link cho các thầy cô trên cả nền tảng Zoom, kênh YouTube và fanpage để các thầy cô có thể tham gia khảo sát để nhận được giấy chứng nhận của buổi hội thảo ngày hôm nay, cũng như là cơ hội may mắn được nhận những cái phần quà mà em đã giới thiệu buổi sáng cho các thầy cô. Vâng, 30 phần quà dành cho 30 thầy cô giáo gửi về phiếu khảo sát sớm nhất cũng như chất lượng nhất để các thầy cô có thể nhận được giấy chứng nhận cũng như những phần quà của ban tổ chức. Em xin nhắc lại, đó chính là 10 phần quà cho các bộ sách tham khảo, bổ trợ nâng cao theo bộ sách tiếng Anh Global Success, cùng với tài khoản luyện thi cổng luyện thi tốt nghiệp Trung học phổ thông quốc gia với đầy đủ tất cả các môn trên hệ thống học liệu.vn và 10 khóa học EOT do tập đoàn Pearson gửi tặng cho các thầy cô. Mỗi khóa học kéo dài trong 3 tháng. Các thầy cô sẽ được cấp tài khoản và vào có thể tự học self-learning. Và sau đây thì em xin mời bộ phận kỹ thuật, chúng ta sẽ gửi lại phần link khảo sát cũng như là QR code để giúp các thầy cô có thể là làm ngay phần khảo sát bây giờ. Link khảo sát sẽ được mở trong vòng hết ngày hôm nay để các thầy cô có thể, nếu các thầy cô nào trong vòng buổi sáng chưa khảo sát được thì có thể sẽ làm khảo sát trong cuối buổi giờ chiều. Và các thầy cô ơi, chúng ta chỉ làm khảo sát một lần thôi ạ. Vâng, chỉ khảo sát một lần thôi. Và sau đó thì chúng ta sẽ quay trở lại với phần hội thảo vào buổi chiều ngày hôm nay. Chiều ngày hôm nay thì buổi hội thảo của chúng ta sẽ bắt đầu vào lúc 14 giờ. Các thầy cô nhớ giúp em khoảng khung thời gian của buổi chiều session chiều nay với sự trình bày của thầy Đặng Hiệp Giang, chuyên viên phụ trách tiếng Anh, Bộ Giáo dục và Đào tạo, sẽ có những chia sẻ về những cái nội dung vô cùng thiết thực với các thầy cô. Vâng, trên màn hình bây giờ ban tổ chức cũng đã share phần QR code và link khảo sát cho buổi hội thảo. Các thầy cô có thể nhanh tay ạ. Các thầy cô nhanh tay, chúng ta điền các thông tin đi, bởi vì 30 phần quà cho 30 thầy cô làm phiếu khảo sát nhanh nhất với nội dung chất lượng nhất sẽ được chọn để tặng các phần quà vô cùng hấp dẫn ngày hôm nay. Vâng, tính đến thời điểm này, ở buổi hội thảo ngày hôm nay chúng ta có sự tham dự của gần 1.000 thầy cô đang trong khán phòng Zoom và hơn 4.000 giáo viên được các thầy cô đang xem trực tiếp trên kênh YouTube tiếng Anh Global Success, và khoảng hơn 400 các thầy cô đang theo dõi livestream trên fanpage tiếng Anh Global Success. Một lần nữa em xin thay mặt cho ban tổ chức, thay mặt cho toàn thể đội ngũ tác giả, thầy cô, biên tập viên cũng như là các cán bộ của Nhà xuất bản Giáo dục Việt Nam xin được trân trọng cảm ơn sự tham dự của các thầy cô trong buổi hội thảo ngày hôm nay, và hy vọng những thông tin, những buổi hội thảo như thế này sẽ giúp cho Nhà xuất bản Giáo dục Việt Nam đến gần hơn với các thầy cô, cùng đồng hành và gỡ những cái khó khăn, giúp đỡ cho các thầy cô trong quá trình triển khai sách giáo khoa và chương trình mới. Xin được hẹn gặp lại các thầy cô trong buổi chiều ngày hôm nay bắt đầu từ 14 giờ. Vâng, xin được cảm ơn các thầy cô và chúc các thầy cô một bữa trưa thật là ngon miệng để chúng ta có được đủ năng lượng quay trở lại với phần trình bày của thầy Giang buổi chiều ngày hôm nay. Trân trọng cảm ơn các thầy cô.